Hey you, it's Allie from Right Up Your Alley, and as you can see, we're adventuring today at Brent's parents' farm. Nice flat Saskatchewan. We got a view that goes on for days and makes for some of the absolutely most beautiful sunsets. We're out here planning our 2018 May Carnival Transatlantic cruise that we're taking with his parents. I do tend to plan things quite a bit in advance, usually about a year if it's something that I've decided that we're going to do. So we've been out here talking about what hotels we're going to stay at when we get off the ship, where we're going to go while we're in Barcelona, and just getting onto the same page. It brought up a conversation because during our last trip through Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec City, I didn't plan it all. It was literally a choose-your-own-adventure trip where every day we got up and we Googled what we were going to do, where we were going to eat, and we relied almost 100% on the recommendations from the people at our hotels and on the street. So I'd love to take you along on our trip that we started in Ottawa, went through Montreal, and went on to Quebec. So join us on our week-long tour starting in Ottawa. We actually decided to take this trip as sort of a last-minute thing based on an advertisement I saw for a WestJet seat sale for Carnival in Quebec. Now, after I started looking at flights from Saskatchewan to Quebec and home, it was significantly cheaper, like a few $100s cheaper, to fly into a different city, either Toronto or Ottawa instead. So we decided to add on a few days and fly into Ottawa, do a little touring around there, and make a little road trip out of it. Now, because we were staying in Canada, I decided to book directly with the airline. In this case, it was WestJet. I prefer their customer service, I prefer their flights, and just overall, it's a better experience for us if we're staying within Canada and try to keep it a little bit local. So we just put in our information, got our points, and we were off. So after we landed in Ottawa, I pulled up the Googles and I checked the quickest ways downtown because we knew we wanted to stay by Parliament. So I looked up the transit, which was about $3.30 each and about 30 minutes to get downtown, or the taxis, which was $29 for the two of us to get down there. And there were plenty of them outside. As you can see, our cheap asses opted for the transit. It might be a little bit scary taking public transit if you've never done it before, especially in a new city, but Ottawa Transit, or OC Transpo, has a really great website where it will literally take you from point A to point B. All you need to do is put in where you're starting from. So for us, that was the Ottawa International Airport. Put in where you want to go. So we didn't really know where we were going, so we just put in Parliament Hill because that's the heart of downtown Ottawa, and it spit out that we were going to be taking the 97. So for us, it was just one bus to go from the airport all the way downtown, and we figured we could walk it out or figure out what we were doing from there. It was really easy to find the bus too because it's right outside where you would pick up your luggage if you had checked luggage at about pillar 13. You walk over one pillar, you go to the information desk, you buy your ticket, you walk outside, and there's your bus. Easy peasy. Now, taking the bus also gave us a little bit of time to see a different part of Ottawa because it goes through different tunnels to avoid all of the traffic. It also gave us time to look up where we were going to be staying for that night. So I did do a little bit of research on the downtown hotels in Ottawa, and we did decide to stay at the Chateau Laurier, which is a Fairmont property. Now, the reason we decided to stay there is that it was right in the middle of everything. It was in a safe neighborhood, and it was one of the more interesting hotels. A lot of the other downtown hotels were ultra modern and kind of boring. So what I did is when we got to Ottawa, I looked up one of those deals for tonight hotels. And because Fairmont properties have a price match guarantee, I called them with the website where I found the better price and ended up getting that for that night. By the time we got off the bus, our hotel was ready to go. The bus dropped us off outside Sutton Shopping Centre, which was only about 3 blocks away from Parliament and from our hotel, which are in the background there. Now, even though we're not big shoppers, it looked like a great mall, and there's a great little walk right up Rideau Canal there, so we decided we were just going to take our luggage and walk to the hotel. Even though we arrived on January 31st, 2017, all of the walks were shoveled, and it was really nice day for a walk. And look at the view as we approach the Chateau Laurier. Look at that architecture. It doesn't matter what side you look at it, from Parliament or from coming up from the mall. Very pretty. Now, I wish I could say the same thing for the rooms. The rooms were okay. They were clean. They were safe. They were quiet. The bed was very comfortable. I just felt like I expected more from a Fairmont property, especially for the price that we paid. And I did link to my TripAdvisor review of that in the comments if you want to take a look at that. Where the Chateau Laurier really outdid itself was the main floor. As you can see, the lobby is done with period furniture, and the ceilings are ornate with gigantic windows that go from floor to ceiling. There was literally no expense spared for the main floor, and just beautiful. So coming out of the hotel on your way towards Parliament, you pass Rideau Canal, which is one of the longest skating rinks in the world as far as I know. We weren't actually able to go on it or go skating because it was unseasonably warm for January and the ice wasn't safe for us to be on it. So we just gave it a quick little wave on our way to get our tickets for Parliament. We decided we were going to sit in through some of the caucuses, and it was very interesting watching our parliament do what they do. But you actually need to stop across the street and pick up a ticket if you're going to have any of the tours, if you're going to go up to the Peace Tower. Even though it is free, you need to stop and get that across the street before you head over. Now, walking up to Parliament for the first time, there's a feeling. I don't know what it is. Pride, maybe? But then the bells started. I am such a sucker for church bells. So our first stop, after making it through about 10 minutes of airport-style security to get into the building, was to take the 3 flights of stairs, thank you Fitbit, and the elevator up to the Peace Tower. Now it is important to note that there was stairs, so I don't know that this would be handicap accessible, but the views from the top over the city of Ottawa and the St. Lawrence were absolutely beautiful. Definitely worth it if you're able to make it. We then took a tour with a lovely young lady who told us a lot of things about a lot of things that we were looking at. And to be completely honest, I wasn't listening as close as I probably should have been because I was too busy gawking around at all of the amazing architecture and the history and thinking about all of the wonderful things that happened within these walls. She showed us the House and the Senate and where all of the different parties do their thing. And then we were on to the library, which was actually celebrating an anniversary since it was the only part of the building that hadn't been burnt down in a fire. And you guys, this library, I can't even express the smell, and it was just, I couldn't help imagining just sitting in there for hours reading book after book after book, looking up through this beautiful skylight. So after salivating over the books in the library, we decided maybe we should go for supper. So a quick Google search of restaurants in the area, we found a Japanese steakhouse called Edoko, which had pretty good reviews through TripAdvisor and other websites. And Brent had never been to a Japanese steakhouse before, so as a rite of passage, we felt we had to go here. Now, I wasn't overly impressed with the food, and I did write a TripAdvisor review, which I've also linked in the comments, but it is a Japanese steakhouse. We got our meat, we got our onion volcano, so I'd call that a win. Once we were sufficiently full of hibachi, we decided to go for a walk, and the War Memorial outside of Parliament was all lit up, as was our hotel. So we continued on through Byward Market, which was actually, it's a market that's about, 8 square blocks. That's just the other side of our hotel from Parliament. It's all lit up at night, and all of the stores, there's tons of little whatchamacallit stores where you can buy what you buy everywhere, right? You got your magnets and your postcards and your I Love Canada t-shirts and all the crap that everybody always buys. But they also have a ton of different restaurants and little pubs in there, and I wish we had had more time to go through and explore it properly both through the day, but it made for a really nice walk after supper with all of the lights up, and even though it was the end of January, it still felt very magical to walk around there, and completely safe. And did I mention completely free, except for the dessert that we picked up to take back to the hotel for the evening. The next morning we got up, got our Starbucks, and went for a wander around where we saw they were starting to set up for Winterlude, which is Ottawa's winter festival that was going to be happening that weekend. We got to see this guy starting a gigantic ice sculpture, which they showcased during the festival. But after the wandering around, it was time to get our car in line. So I called Enterprise, and I do deal with Enterprise semi-frequently. They've always given me a good price, always been really good with customer service, and this particular time was no different. I thought I'd be able to pick up a car in Ottawa and drop it off in Quebec City, but Instead, what they had me do is pick one up in Gatineau, which was just on the other side of the river from Ottawa. They came and picked us up at our hotel, drove us over to Gatineau, where we did all of the paperwork, and had a wonderful visit with Bill, who was driving us, who used to be in the travel industry, and provided us with a wealth of knowledge and suggestions that we're going to talk about in our next video, and really made our trip to Montreal something special instead of something just okay. With Brent being such a history buff, we couldn't leave Ottawa without going to the Canadian War Museum. So we took the car back and we spent about 2.5 hours going through the Canadian War Museum. And while it's a little pricey at about $13 a piece, I would definitely say it's worth the money, especially if you have the time to explore all of the exhibits or if you have an interest in that type of history. They have it broken down per era, and we made it through 3 of the 4, so it's definitely something you want to leave an afternoon for. And then we hit the road for Montreal after our second day in Ottawa. Well, that was Ottawa, so I hope you join us on our next leg of the trip, which was Montreal, or Montreal if you're from there, but don't say it like that in front of them, they get upset. And we'll see you next time, where our next adventure might be right up your alley.